I actually had this sitting here because this has been like one of the best books that I've come across by John Tyson, The Intentional Father. It was gifted to me a little while ago, and I was going to ask you. I can tell by the way you nod in your head that you've seen it, probably read it quite a few times. Um, I, what are your thoughts on that, man? Because this has been as a bit of a guidebook for myself, something that I've had sort of on my bedside table for a year and a half or probably 2 years.
Yeah. So I know John, he's a good friend, and before he released the book, it was so funny. I was in New York with him, and he said, "Hey," he's Australian too. He says, "Hey, mate, I just want you to know my editor just came back, and they said they want to name the book The Intentional Father." So I don't mean to like, and our nonprofit is called Intentional. He's like, so I'm not trying to like step on your toes, but like, are you cool with that? I was like, yeah, we're cool with that. I mean, like, we don't have a trademark on the name, right? Like, sure. And if we get lumped into, there's certain people you don't want to be lumped in with. He's doing great work in the world, so happy to be lumped in. I'm actually talking with him in a couple of weeks. He's going to be on our podcast again. But so I'm so glad you have that. So I have 4 kids. I have one boy who is now 14, and then 3 girls who are 11. So I have Duke, who's 14, Scarlett, Birdie, and Sloan. And so I have one boy, and he talks about something called the Primal Path, which is awesome. And he's done a lot of work around that. You're familiar, obviously, with the Primal Path. And you have 2 boys, you said, right?
Yep.
So are you thinking about doing this with them when they get a little bit older?
Yeah, there's a group of guys at the church I go to who we've got boys around the same age. We're really keen to do something together.
So let me tell you, dude. So last year we started on this journey. So I'm shaking my head, yeah, like because I think this is another great example of like take a framework and make it yours. John's going to tell you in that book from his disposition what is really helpful and what he did. But you have to remember, he's a high capacity New York pastor who is also got all these different skills and also different limitations because of where he's at in the world, where he lives, what he does. So I think just, again, take the framework, take the ideal, apply it to your life. I think that's the best advice I could give. But we did this with my son, and his ceremony was so fun and interesting. If you want, I can go into the details on this. But it was such a fun experience. So I gathered like 12 of my dear friends who I wanted to be involved in this process. And the idea is you're picking 12 guys that, or 10, 12, 5, however many dudes that you want him to in some way emulate. Like you admire this person because they have a different gift than you, or you think, if my son turns out like that guy, I'm absolutely happy about it. This also includes in-laws or family that you would want in his life. So we go to this hike. We all gather together. He knows it's happening. He knows that there's a ceremony happening, but he knows no details whatsoever. So we get to the head of this trail, and I take out hair clippers, and I just basically say, "We're starting fresh, bro. You're ready for the Primal Path adventure." And he's like, "What?" And so I just on the trail just shave his head all the way, just immediately. He had no idea. Everyone's filming it. Everyone's laughing. His cousins are there. His 2 cousins who are in Primal Path as well. They're like, dude, this is so epic. They're just freaking out, loving it. So we shave his head. Then we do a 2-mile hike, and I don't know how many kilometers that is, but a 2-mile hike into this place in Bend, which I know you were at last year, so I'm not sure if you went, but it's called Blue Pool. And it is a little pool of water that's 30 feet deep, and it's 37 degrees year round. So it never freezes over, but it is always 37 degrees. So it's like a real life cold plunge. And so we hike 2 miles in, we hike down to this pool. And as a way, like a visceral way to like remember something, everyone on the count of 3 jumps in. So we all jump in. Everyone is just hyperventilating, like, oh my God. Some guys are like used to it. Other guys are like getting out as fast as they can, like grown men just almost crying. It's so funny. But everyone jumps in. That was the one requirement. And I mean, it was just so bonding and refreshing. Everyone was laughing. Some dudes are like, that was so intense. I almost died, all that stuff. And so then we hike back out and we do a big meal together in a bonfire. And we get there and we do this big bonfire. And the whole point of that time was really about gift giving. So we do this thing called gift giving, and then also just like who we see my son becoming. So these were men that had some involvement in his life and had enough involvement to go, I could see this in you, or this is something I see currently and something I can see in you. And man, what 13-year-old kid that has 10 to 12 adult males that he respects, giving them their undivided attention and just pouring it. It's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing. So everyone's giving him gifts, like some are a knife, like, here, this knife, I learned to cook. And this was like super helpful to me. And this was like super helpful in my manhood, my journey to manhood. So I'm giving you this knife as a representation. So a bunch of gift giving, and then a bunch of like words of affirmations, who we see him to be. Unfortunately, 6 months before this happened, my dad passed away. So Duke's grandfather passed away. And so before he died, I knew that this was coming for Duke, that he was going to be 13. And I actually recorded my dad saying what he believed my son to be. And he had no idea. Duke had no idea. So I said, hey, your grandpa's not able to be here, but he still has words for you. Like, it was the most powerful, amazing moment to go, wow, like from death, to life. It was really cool. So that was like really an intimate thing. But then I also had a friend come in who's a tattoo artist, and she does stick and poke tattoos, and we all got matching Roman numeral 5 tattoos. So my son, who was 13, was getting a little Roman numeral 5. You'll see it's just a little Roman numeral 5. He got this on his arm, and because we wanted to mark the moment forever. And talking his mom into this was fun, by the way. That was really fun. She understood the process. And then his cousins, Jude and Mo, who are in this, and then their dad, John Mark, we're all in this together. So they actually all got the same tattoo. So we're all sitting there at the ceremony getting an actual stick and poke tattoo. And it's been one of the most bonding, things to do. So that was the ceremony. Ongoing, it looks like reading books together. It looks like family trips of history of like, here's where you came from. It looks like intentional formation to help him become good at being a man. So that's what the primal path is. It's this intentional moment from boyhood to manhood. And it's you as a dad taking that responsibility and really going, okay, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to do it just like Brooke or John or anyone else does. But I do want to be like, hey, there's a process from you going from a boy to a man. And it's a really fun process. So all I can say to you, Tyson, is do it. It is so fun. The relationship build with your son is massive. Like, when your son feels that much of your attention and your focus, and like, whoa, dad's putting me through this process with him to like become a man, like there's nothing more bonding than that. So anyway, I think it's a great gift. So yes, John Tyson, the intentional father, very good stuff.